Hey everybody, welcome back to The Wealthy Sailor. Today I want to talk about maximizing your time. I'm a firm believer that one of the most finite resources that any individual has is time. You're only alive for so long, and we tend to spend a lot of that time doing stuff we either don't want to do or stuff we more or less have to do. It goes all the way back to when we were in school. I mean, how many people woke up at 5 years old thinking, oh, I want to start kindergarten today? And then we're there till we're 18 years old. And then immediately after 18, we're expected to either go to college and continue school for another 4 years or join the workforce. And I'm not saying that stuff can't be fun, because obviously we all have a lot of fun doing that stuff. I mean, I know that the military after high school for me was one of the more enjoyable experiences of my life thus far. But I think we can all agree that oftentimes people get roped into these patterns where they find a large amount of time is ticked away and they didn't really do much or didn't accomplish any goals they had. I mean, it happens to me every Sunday morning. I wake up with the intent of, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, then I'm going to mow the lawn, then I'm going to clean the garage and do this and do that. And then before you know it, you're in front of the TV for a couple hours. It's the afternoon. You're like, oh man, where did my day go? It happens to all of us. So I would like to talk about maximizing time. So the first thing that I do is I always have a to-do list. And to be honest, I could probably spend like an hour or two on a Saturday doing a to-do list, and it's pretty much done. It doesn't take that much time. Like, how many people out there take their laundry out of the dryer, put it into a basket, take it to a room, and then it sits there for a week, when it takes like 15 or 20 minutes to fold and hang up those clothes? It doesn't take a long amount of time at all. In fact, you can even multitask it by listening to an audiobook or doing two things that are better for you than not doing it at all. I mean, there's actually a lot of studies that say that the more organized you tend to keep your life, the more organized you tend to be in life. So if you're the type of person that can execute a to-do list and get simple household chores done, then you're also the type of person that can think up a plan and execute the plan and reap the rewards that come along with that. Besides the to-do list, another thing I like to do is I like to work at work. And what I mean by that is that I know this doesn't apply to everybody, but when I was in the military and even my current job now, I work 12-hour shifts. However, I'm not exactly busy for all 12 hours of that. I can usually get away for about 3 or 4 of the 12-hour shift and not really be what you call busy. I'm just waiting for stuff to happen, or I'm waiting for the next scheduled thing to pop or something like that. So I like to multitask as much as possible. So what I do with that time right now is I'm doing school classes. Luckily, I'm only taking one class, so an hour a day is more than enough for me to study and do classwork, do homework, and write my papers without a problem. Additionally, most of the planning for these videos actually happens while I'm at work. I take some paper and I start jotting down ideas. I do a little bit of research. Depends on what the topic is. Some topics require a lot more research than others. But I do all that, and then that way when I get back to my room like I am now, see my room, my very plain room with cabinet behind me. This is actually a bed for a roommate, but we don't have a roommate in here right now, so I have the room all to myself. Anybody who knows anything about deployments, knowing you have your own room is amazing. But anyway, so when I get back to my room, I can then film a video, and because I have notes, I have a good idea of what I want to talk about and different points I want to make, and it also gives me an outline of kind of how to stay on target, because I find that if I don't have an outline, sometimes I start to ramble, which some of you may have noticed, some maybe not. But if you have, I apologize. I'm doing my best with that. So I try multitask at work as much as possible. I even take that time to pay bills, to rebudget things if I have a chance, just really anything. Sometimes I'll make my to-do list for what I need to do around the house or at home while I'm at work. It really just depends on what I have going on. And even if you have a busier job where you're not sitting at a desk or something all day, I mean, you can still do other things to sort of improve yourself or to reach your goals. I mean, like, one of the things I really preach is knowledge. Knowledge is everything. The more you know, the better off you are. So if you have a job that you're very busy, some of them will still let you wear earphones, which means you can do podcasts, you can do audiobooks, stuff like that. You can try to multitask and get as much stuff done as possible while doing something else. My mentality for this actually comes from a story from when I was in Greece, because I had a coworker who used to do online surveys from something called, I think it was like Cashcrate or something like that. And Cashcrate was just this simple thing where you do surveys, you answer questions, you watch commercials, you give opinions, stuff like that. And you didn't make much money. I think the most you made was like $5, $10 an hour doing it. But if you're sitting at a desk anyway, then why not open up this website, start clicking through stuff, and add that amount of money onto what you're already making for that hour. If your job allows you to do that kind of stuff, I mean, you really need to. If you're like a firefighter, then obviously you're not going to be able to multitask all that much. But I'm sure there are other instances, like for example, audiobooks while you drive or podcasts while you drive. A lot of us spend a lot of time in cars, and yeah, you can better yourself while you're doing that. Another thing I follow is the 2-minute rule, meaning that if any single task on a to-do list, or if I see anything around the house needs to get done, takes under 2 minutes, I just do it right then and there. It's probably why my house is kind of clean and organized, because it doesn't take long to do an individual task. For example, I won't so much stop and do dishes all at once sometimes, but if I see like 2 or 3 things there, next time I go in the kitchen, I might just wash 2 or 3 things, put it in the strainer, and then I'll move on and do something else. I break everything down into little 2-minute tasks so that it's not so overwhelming. I feel like that's one of the big problems, is that people tend to have this idea that they need to do so much stuff that they actually get overwhelmed by it. So try to do everything in 2-minute intervals, what's possible. Obviously, if you're going out to mow your lawn, you need to make an hour for that. But you'll be surprised how many tasks can be broken down into little 2-minute things. I even do it when I'm in school now with my papers I'm writing. I won't open up a Word document thing. I'm going to write an entire paper. I'm like, okay, well, let me just write like the opening paragraph. 2 minutes later, okay, that's done. Minimize it. Go back to doing something else on my computer, and then I go back and I'm like, okay, well, let me do a second paragraph. I have an idea. Let me write it down. And it works really well for me. I'm not saying it works well for everybody, but I would definitely think about incorporating that in your life. One of the problems I have is when I think about the amount of time I've wasted that I could have been doing something else. I mean, even with these YouTube videos, my son and I actually got introduced into YouTube about 2 years ago. We started doing a gaming channel with me and him, and it was fun. But we were doing games that I didn't really think anybody wanted to watch us for. One, we're not super hyped up, and if you watch a lot of gaming channels, you notice that a lot of them are like super hyper and overactive with what happens with the game. Like, oh my god, this just happened, and we just didn't do that. We just talked normally, and it was a bonding experience for me and my son. The other problem is that we did about 10 videos, and I edited 9 of them. On the 10th one, I had him edit it, and he did, and we posted it, and then he decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So we kind of abandoned that, but I kind of think with this, seeing the success I've had so far, I should have started this like years ago, because I've been interested in finance for years, and I really kind of feel bad that I waste so much time. It kind of reminds me of that saying that the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is right now. And it's kind of self-evident what it means, but my interpretation is that it's never too late. Just get things started when you can get them started. The second part of this video, I don't want to talk so much about maximizing your time as making your time more efficient. And that's why I like passive forms of income. And I'll make another video about that, but this is really more in the perspective of making money without really doing very much. And right now I have my rental properties doing that for me. My rental property, because I only have one. And that basically I don't really do anything. I have a property management company that runs it for me. And it saves me the time, so I don't need to like really worry about that or handle that. And I do pay them for it. I pay them a good percentage. I think I pay them like 10% to manage my property for me. But in return, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm not the one getting the calls in the middle of the night. And since I'm so far away from Jacksonville right now, it really helps to have somebody on the ground there that can go and take care of stuff for me. Second form of passive income I have is I have dividend stocks. Now, I'm not as heavily invested in this as I should be. I think I have about $4,000 invested right now in dividend contributing stocks. It's not great, but it's a start. And I want to do more as my goals kind of increase and as I move forward with what I'm trying to do here. And the last thing I did for passive income is I'm actually a published author. I've actually written a bunch of like kids books and a bunch of fiction books that I have on Amazon. And because of that, I just collect money each month for doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. I like to write, but I'm not a great writer, or at least I don't feel like I'm the best. I feel like that I do okay and my books sell, but I definitely feel like there's people that are a lot better at it than I am. But I still make like $20-30 a month for nothing. I mean, the last time I wrote was over a year ago. I've been meaning to go back and write some more and stuff, but lately with my current work schedule, school, and now this channel that I'm trying to do and make sure I have good content on there, I've just been busy. But one day I hope to go back there. I want to get up. I have about 35 books on there right now. I want to get up to about 100 good books. Of my 35, I would say maybe 10 of them are decent. I put a lot of effort into them, and I wrote some good stories and stuff. So, but those are my forms of passive income. None of those three really add up to all that much right now. The most I make is off my rental property. I only profit about $200 a month after you subtract the management company and the mortgage. And then what I do make pretty much goes into a separate account to cover the cost of the house when it's empty and for repairs and stuff. But it's still passive income. So, it counts. The last thing I want to talk about is taking time for yourself. I think it's really easy for people to get the idea in their head that if they're not doing something to make money or better themselves, they're wasting time. And that's just not true, or at least not in my opinion. In my opinion, I think that it's only wasted time if you're not using it effectively. But if you're the type of person that likes to do stuff that might not necessarily better yourself, like you want to watch, I don't know, the Kardashians on TV. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not the one to preach, like, don't watch something you want to watch. But I do think that there's a middle ground to, watch the stuff you want to watch, but also better yourself at other times too. For example, if you want to sit around and watch the Kardashians all day, totally fine. But when you get in your car, maybe try an audiobook out. One of the things I like to do that's like a guilty pleasure that's definitely not bettering myself in any way is I like to play video games. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of my favorite games ever made, and I still play it to this day. And it's to me, it's not like I'm wasting time because I'm also kind of mentally resetting. Sometimes when you have a lot of stuff going on, you need that escape to just sort of reset. I also preach big going to the gym or otherwise working out in some other way because that does the same thing. I think it's actually more effective. Plus, you have the added benefit of improving your physical health. And I think if your physical health is running good, then your mental health is getting better too. Which all adds on to the whole thing of trying to maximize your time because you have so little of it. Anyway, so I hope my video about how to maximize your time helps somebody. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions for either future videos or for how to maximize your time or what you do, please leave it in a comment below. I'll read everything, I promise, or at least I'll try to read everything. It depends on how many comments we get. And thanks for stopping by and keep saving.